The USPS has had some year, hasn't it? It's normally just a part of life. You occasionally send a letter, you get some mail, and that's it. But it has been a rough ride, and the ride continues to be rough, with us just finding out now that the US Postal Service in August stopped updating its database of Americans who have changed their address, saying the failure to process at least 1.8 million new changes of address was due to an inexplicable error. That's according to Time reporting back on Monday. So why do we care about this? People move, okay, maybe for a couple million, they had problems with that. Well, the failure of the USPS system, which is used by nearly every US state to keep their voter registration rolls up to date, could potentially compromise the ability of those voters to cast ballots in November as election officials gear up for record highs in mail-in voting. And so the thing is, this is sort of insidious because they've already fixed the problem, supposedly. By the middle of September, they had fixed that problem. But the issue is that half of states had already sent out mail-in ballot applications to registered voters. So in theory, if they had moved in that time, they may not have gotten that. And if for those voters, they intended to mail in their votes, they might be sitting around waiting to get that ballot request form and may never end up getting it. And again, as with so many of the things that we're talking about, this by itself hypothetically might not be enough to swing an election or a state. But we just keep piling up these sorts of things in every little measly, like spiteful little way that they can. Yeah. They are making it harder for people to just do what should be simple and vote.
Yeah, and I read that you can't forward any sort of election ballot material. So like, it's not even if you have mail forwarding that you'll get it eventually. You just won't get it. And it's exactly what you said. They're doing they're chipping away. They're chipping away at it. And every little crack is making a difference. And it's making it confusing for people. You don't get your ballot. Now it's a mail only ballot. You don't have to go, there's no polling place. People are getting confused, and that's part of it. It's really a perfect storm. 2020 is a doozy.
Yeah, and it's all of these things that, like, again, in the end, let's say hypothetically, the polls are wrong or they change between now and election day, and Donald Trump ends up winning. Let's say he wins the Electoral College, and let's say he does what few Republican presidents can do in the past few decades, and he wins the popular vote. It won't matter why he'll be president, but we won't know for sure if he genuinely changed people's minds and they supported him, or all of these different state level and federal ways that they've tried to mess with the vote and make it harder for people's votes to be counted will have ended up mattering. It won't, and again, like I said, it won't matter. He'll have the power, which is what actually matters, but we're gonna be looking at it and wondering if all these things that we've been talking about day after day on the show for a year now could have influenced that result.
Sean, how did this happen? How did the Postal Service become this like this festering virus, bacteria of cancer within that is now poisoning us? How did this happen? How did these mistakes? How did the scanners or the sorters or whatever the machines they took out and pulling out all these mailboxes or postal boxes, whatever they're called? How did all this happen? What is going on? I mean, is this the first president of the United States who has used that power to sort of pervert everything that we've sort of taken as, I don't know, benign? I mean, the post office was benign at one point. It was like the post office, get your stamps, I mean, it was slow. We knew that they were sort of on the decline. They hadn't caught up with everybody else, what I mean? But it wasn't this like malicious sect now. This kind of stuff is really a big deal. I mean, and I have a few family members that were postal carriers, and they took their job very, very seriously. I mean, federal position, this is a big deal. Like fraud was a huge thing, and this kind of stuff is happening as if it's some sort of like coffee shop that Trump is running, and he can just do whatever he wants and change everything. And I mean, I honestly, like, how did this happen? How did we get here?
Well, I mean, as far as I know, he is the first president to sort of weaponize the USPS specifically for voting. That I haven't seen before. And I don't know for sure that other presidents really had the opportunity for it. It sort of took the pandemic to create the environment where it would really matter this much. There just wasn't as much mail-in voting across the country. There were particular states that did it a lot. They're probably better set up for this than the others that are now sort of scrambling to catch up. But they've been setting up for literally years this idea that the USPS needs to have its funding cut or needs to fund itself. That certainly played into it. And they've basically done what Republican presidents do to every aspect of government, pervert it, against its initial mission statement. They do that to the APA every time. They do that to the Department of Labor. They do that all over the place. Generally, the USPS is left out of it. But I will also, to some extent, blame in this story and all related stories, the years that Obama had the ability, he had unified government, and they should have done something to actually protect our democratic rights and to strengthen the expectation that people can have that the election, that our democracy is gonna mean something, that it's not just gonna be sort of a slogan. And they really didn't do anything in that time. They didn't have unilateral power. There were still hypothetically filibusters and all of that. But if Biden wins, and especially if the Democrats win the Senate, they have got to take the future of American democracy seriously, because it can't stand when one of the two main parties is waging a decades-long war against it that is just getting more and more sophisticated and insidious and all-encompassing, seemingly with every passing year.
You're right. We had an opportunity to try to sort of reinforce, what we've been sort of believing in so many years and strengthen it. And that there's a lot of criticism of the Obama administration, but we talked offline a little bit about what a centrist is. And in some ways he was a very centrist president that was trying to sort of play both sides so much that a lot of stuff didn't get done.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.